prospective listeners and viewers, welcome to our this is our first video in like a little while. We've been doing some podcasts, but we're back. If you like saw us just laughing a little bit, I was getting ready to kick us off, and then Lyzette's like, oh wait, we're not recording yet. So wait, we were about to record, but not record. And we were like, oh my God. So I'm glad that was a saving grace. She's like, wait, I gotta press record.
Yes.
Yes. That was okay. Whew, we got past that. But yes, I said helping. It's been a while since I've been on camera. We are happy to be back on camera. And, we got our series that we want to focus on before we're going to have a drop of a series that we've been working on the last few months. But in the meantime, Lyzeth and I are two very beautiful. I said beautiful. There you go. I'm going to get it together. We are two.
At some point,
I'm gonna get it together. Like, okay, we're two very beautiful, voluptuous women. And we realize that this world that we live in is not catered to women that necessarily look like us physically. And our everything that we've been, from Lizzo's drop of her latest song with Cardi B, Rumors, and everything that she's been going through, to even like just other things in general, like how the fashion world, Lord, is like, entertainment. It's really, you don't see women really that look like us,
No.
But yeah, so we really just gonna talk about it, and Lyzeth, I said so much I could say, but I'm gonna let you start talking.
I was waiting for you to just.
I will say that. So, before we hopped on, you were talking about this asshole white man, that you saw on TikTok. He had the nerve to be talking about the fat phobia movement. I don't know what we calling it, but his response to Lizzo around, she's really been in her feelings, and she's really opened up a lot more. He's like, this is like a stunt. Is this like a publicity stunt? What does it matter? What does it matter?
Yeah, it was. So I was doing some research, as most of y'all who've been following us know that I tend to just watch. I'll watch some, YouTube. I'll read some articles, and I was kind of just really just looking. I looked up fat phobia on YouTube, and this white man, I'm not even going to say his name because it's not even worth it. You don't need to give him any views, more views than I gave. I gave him one too many views, but he was talking about Lizzo and, and like the publicity stuff, but it was more around this whole thing of like how he was just talking about being fat. And how it was just, he kept saying like fat equates unhealthy was really sort of the theme of his videos. There was 2 videos that I watched of his, and that it was like, oh, how it's irrational to not want to be healthy, or like it's it's and it shouldn't be okay. And something that I think we'll touch on is sort of where there's a book out there that talks about how fat phobia is sort of rooted in racism. Mm-hmm. And like this man brought it up and was talking about like, oh, like, so if you don't like fat people, then you're racist. And I was like, no, that's not at all what this is about. Like, there's the root cause of things and just what it kind of, and then where it kind of goes to and like what it evolves to. But I was just so bad. I was telling Martina, I was like, I almost texted you the link, and I was like, no, he doesn't deserve any more views. We don't need to
spread this hate. I'm sure
we don't need to spread this, because I'm like, it's not, because then he said something like, oh, there's this idea of being, fat phobia and like victimhood. And I was like, nobody's being a victim anywhere. Like, when you think about being fat and we'll talk about American society because that's where we're at. It's like, it's not victimhood. It's like there's a lot of trauma that comes with being a plus size person in society in the US. You know, I mean, we can probably get into I've always been the bigger girl, even since I was little.
Yeah.
So if you grew up big throughout your whole life, like there's a whole lot of trauma that kind of happens through your your elementary, your high school, going into college and even adulthood. Like there's a lot that kind of impacts you, and sometimes you can get ahead of it, and sometimes you can overcome it, and sometimes it just hits you like I don't know, where you're like, dang, I didn't know that was still an issue in my brain, or that's still deep down in my subconscious. You're hit with the memory of when you were like 8 years old and you're like,
you might be, at the playground and some little 6-year-old is like, well, I want to go first because, you're a little bigger than me. Oh, okay, Molly. Okay. Like, and I think as kids, we often because kids for the most part, although, kids sometimes speak truth, but kids can be mean. Because, at that age, you're still learning, the norms of society, which hopefully you have guardians who are enforcing, how you should behave, as you start to get older, and the different social norms. But kids oftentimes will say stuff, and they don't necessarily trying to be mean, but they say it. Now you do have, as you do get older, and kids start to know the difference, and at that point, it is a bullying factor to it.
Yeah.
But I think it oftentimes, again, like you said, I've always been like the bigger friend or the bigger girl in my friend groups, even now to a certain point. I've always been that way. And, I think, of course, being younger, probably like later elementary school, going into middle school was probably like the hardest time. High school, I really, I think it did too. But then like once I got older, it just, getting out of school, I really stopped giving a fuck. But it still, there's trauma linked in there because even, now as we are, you may see it in your professional career. You may see it in your romantic relationships. You may see it in your friendship. You may see it in your family. I think a lot of us see it in our family too. You know, grandma might say something snide like, "Oh, you done got bigger. You eating good," or even if you lose weight, it's like you done lost a lot of weight. Are you okay? It's like there's no way for losing sometimes with your family. It's like either okay, I'm eating too good, grandma, or I'm not eating enough. Like which one is it, grandma?
Yeah.
So I think it is just a lot of things that have impacted why, we decided to really do a few videos around this because again, as we're talking about, we saw everything that happened with Lizzo. And then again, just in the various industries, even like I said, even in our workplaces, I think oftentimes it can show up more so in our romantic relationships too. But it often is still that thing that I know I think about it. I do. Like, this is one reason, like, I love shopping. I ain't gonna lie. I like shopping for all kinds of stuff. And clothes, I will say, are my least favorite kind of shopping. I will say. I have never
I'm with you.
I have never enjoyed that. Oh, wait, I think my Alexa was talking. So if anybody heard that, that was Alexa saying something about shopping.
I was like,
he trying to get me shopping. Look at Bezos trying to take my money while I'm trying to do this video. Look, see, she's programmed. So if y'all heard that, look, that was Alexa. Oh my God. Look at her lit up. She's listening. See, they listening. There's so many things. Okay, I'm gonna stay on topic before we get off on tangents this early. But I have never really enjoyed shopping for clothes, especially when I'm with my friends, because most of my friends are older than me. They are like most of them. I probably have a few friends that are my size or even bigger than me, but for the most part, I do have my girlfriends that are just smaller. They're just small women, and so of course when we meet up or hang out, after we go out for brunch or sometimes we go out shopping, I prefer to go handbag shopping. And maybe that's where my love of handbags came from. I love handbags. But yeah, I never really look at the clothes, like especially if we go to like some of these specialty boutiques and things like that that are smaller. I don't really fuck with it because I'm just like, they're not gonna have anything my size. I don't even want to try it on. But I'm gonna just go look at jewelry or I'm gonna go look at shoes. You know, something I know that I can work with it. But like I still to this day, even now, since you know we live in such a digitized world, you can order everything. You go to anything you want and have it delivered to your house. So I would say now I probably have more clothes just delivered to my house. And if hey, again, ease of living in the modern world, we can either take it back to the store or you can ship it back, whichever one. And some people's like, oh, that's such a hassle to do. And I'm like, well, you must not be a big girl, okay? Because I love the comfort of trying on clothes or swimsuits, whatever it is, in the comfort of my home, because it's just me. And I don't have to worry about, oh, this may not fit and having to take it back, you know, back on out to the store floor. Some don't fit. And I'm like, well, shit, I wasted this time trying to find something in person. No, I'm like, I do. That's why, you know, I do most of my stuff online. I just find the ease and comfort so much better. And that's trauma. Mm-hmm.
No, I'm glad you brought up the shopping part because that's always been something I've hated. Like I hate clothes shopping. I hate it because then I'll go and I'll try something, doesn't fit, and I'm like, ugh, you know, and then I get frustrated, I get mad, and there's a whole other thing that we'll probably get into later about that. But I think I recall rarely going to the mall with friends. And it was on purpose. Like I just didn't want to go because I knew that we weren't going to go to like a Lane Bryant. You know, like that was the only plus size store at the time.
That's the only one they really had back in the day. You know? That's it. Like Lane Bryant.
You know, and the clothes weren't cute either. Like they weren't cute.
No, they still not that. You know, Lane Bryant. I do love y'all though because y'all have some great bras. They are expensive fucking bras. So you make a, you know, and that's another thing. Lucetta and I get into like the cost difference, you know, we'll get into that. Yes.
We'll get into that. But I remember like, I didn't want to go, you know, and, you know, most of my friends, I remember, especially high school, because high school is really when you were going to the mall and you were like, just hella.
Yeah.
And I just remember like I never was that girl that wanted to go. And like with you, like, I'd rather go shoe shopping. I'd rather go buy a purse. Or like do like makeup, like all these other things, because it's just so much easier. And you know, because I didn't want to be the person that like made my friends feel uncomfortable or like, hey, well, you know, I can't go there. There's nothing for me to wear. Like I can't try anything. Like I can't try the cute prom dresses or homecoming dresses that y'all are trying. I have to go out of my way to find anything to wear. And it was.
Maybe JC Penney's again, not wrong with JC Penney's. But
it was we had and we probably still have very limited options. And I mean this is why like I rarely went to dances. I hate dresses anyway to begin with. Because it was always hard, especially back then. I mean, we're talking like, 2000 and 2004 was my high school time. And I was like, there weren't a lot of options for the big girls. Like we didn't have any, like, you didn't have Torrid. You didn't have, you know, where like a JCPenney now has maybe some, you know, beautiful dresses out. Like Macy's has now like nicer dresses to pick from for plus sizes. But I was like no, the dresses made me look like a potato sack.
They did. That's exactly how they
was like.
Exactly. Like, you know, like you don't have a shape. Like you just
have a shape. You
just like.
And that makes you feel a sort of kind of way, especially when you in high school, like you know, middle school. You're just like, why don't I feel or look the same way that like my skinny friends feel and look when they wear like a beautiful dress and they're like, oh my God, it makes it look good. I'm like, I look like a potato sack.
And you bring up a good point that you never, like, we would not want to make our friends feel uncomfortable, even though we felt uncomfortable. That's
all the time.
All the time. We've always felt uncomfortable. Even now, as I'm saying, like, I just prefer to not shop out there, even though now, like you said, we have better options. We have more range. Yeah. Still not where we need to be, but we have more things that we can pick from than when we were in high school. But still, it's always been about you don't want to make your friends feel uncomfortable, even though you are the uncomfortable one.
Yeah, because there was always, I mean, not if there still is this stigma, like this weight stigma, fat stigma around that surrounds us. And, you know, like I remember, like I love to eat. Like I love good food and everything. But if I remember, like if I think back probably before college, because I think college when things started changing for me, I think you mentioned the same thing, Martina. But I remember like being very self-conscious of what I would eat in front of people.
Yeah.
And how much I ate. Mm-hmm. Like I would never eat like my full meal. Like it'd be like I'd have to be with like my like closest friends, the ones that I was really like I felt like my best friend at the time, who I'm still friends with, but like who are like that. Those were like the 2-3 that I had that I would like okay, I can be myself to a certain extent, right? Like because we're all skinny. Like there was always this thing, but
they can always like, get an extra slice of pizza.
Yeah, like and nobody would judge them, right? Like nobody would, you know, or make fun of them or like anything that kind of comes with being a young, you know, overweight kid growing up in the, you know, in the United States, probably in other countries. I don't think it's exclusive to us, but it was just that thing, and sometimes I'll catch myself even now where I'm still if I'm out in like a public event where it's like maybe like a buffet style or something, and I really just want that wing that's right there, but I already had a few of them, and I'm like, hey, added that I'm an introvert, so my brain goes into like
it's going. So many sparks are happening in your brain right at that moment. Like, oh my god, I don't know.
But like, it's always like, are people gonna think that I'm just like this fat person that just wants to eat and eat? Like this, that's like probably the first thought in my brain. And probably nobody's thinking anything. Nobody's probably looking at me. But because it's happened before, it's happened enough times before that it's just this trauma that we're still working on. And I'm sure there are people out there that do probably look at me or others that are overweight who go for that wing, for that little sandwich, for desserts. I think desserts are another thing where it's always like, are they watching how many little pieces? Because they're always little minis. So it's never like so I always grab a few.
You say that about dessert because I got to the point, I don't know when this really kind of happened. Like I probably like sweets just as much as I like savory stuff. But normally now, or even like over the past few years, I've noticed when I go out for dinner with folks, I don't really eat desserts. I don't. And like I have friends that look at me like, oh, I mean, granted, these are people skinnier than me. And they were like, you don't look at desserts when you go out? Like, I always look at desserts. And I was like, no, I may come do an appetizer and do the main entree, but most of the times I don't even look at desserts. I really don't. Like, I just never really. And then it hasn't been to maybe more recently with the same set of friends now that I've really started to eat desserts when I'm out. But normally, like, desserts are just not something I would go to. I just haven't done it. No.
I love desserts. But then I always think about like, I don't do desserts often unless somebody orders it.
Yes, I will. Yes. Now, that's generally it. Somebody orders it and then I'll taste it or I'm, you know.
Like, and I don't know if that's me trying to like be a skinny fat person in the group. But I'm just
it is because that's normally how I do. Like again, like if they don't bring desserts up, I'm not bringing it up. Like
remember, even though I want it, even though I really want dessert,
here's the thing: you want it. I'm not even really thinking about it. I'm like, I don't really want desserts.
Sometimes I don't. So I'm so full because I ate everything.
You know, and then but really, like it has to be somebody else brings it up, and then I'm like, well, I'm not ordering just my own dessert. Like if we want to split it or share it, I'll do that. But that's the thing: I don't order my own desserts. I don't order my own. Always end up somebody else ordering. I take like a little spoonful or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That's such a good point. Look how we suffer in silence.
Suffer in silence. And the thing is, like, who can you talk to? I mean, because it's really hard, you know, for people that have been skinny their whole lives to understand.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
but we're so like, but we're supposed to understand them. But
yeah.
they don't supposed to, like, it's almost like we're supposed to understand them and where they're coming from, but they're not meant to understand us.
Because there's such a, being fat equates to me, like being fat equates being bad. Like there's something bad and there's something wrong with you. You're lazy. You know, you just don't want to try hard. You're gluttonous. You're like all these bad connotations that are put, these, you know, these adjectives to describe, you know, someone that's overweight. You know, and it's, but when someone defies that and says, there's nothing wrong with this, you know, there's nothing wrong with being overweight. I love my body. I love how I look. If I want to lose weight, I'll lose weight, you know. And I think it's just that, like, it's literally fat equals bad. I mean, how many things do we not hear about, you know, your bad fats, you know?
Versus the good fats. That's true. Like, oh, you can eat that avocado.
Those are good fats.
You can eat peanuts, nuts. Those are good fat. But even those are in moderation. Boy, you probably don't want to eat a lot of peanut butter, though. Even though peanut butter still is considered a good fat too. But, you know, of course, like, you know, we start getting to fried chicken and chips, fried fruit. That's definitely butter. That's a no-no. You know, oh, you're going to get high cholesterol, or, you know, that person might get high cholesterol, but there's a lot of things that can cause high cholesterol that may not necessarily be pertaining to what, you know, what you eat. But that's what often, people often do see is the good versus bad. And you're right. We do have a lot, like we have bad fats versus good fats.
Yeah. Right. And I think that's the one thing that I remember just kind of growing up, this whole idea of it's bad. It's like dirty. You're lazy. You know, there's all these like just bad things that sort of, and what I now understand as an adult is like, geez, don't say those to kids. Like, you know how terrible that is and how long it takes for someone to sort of work through all that.
I think it starts with family. A lot of us hear it with our families. Yeah, I don't know if it's particularly people of color or maybe white people too. I don't know. But I don't know, but I know differently. I've heard it in my family. I've heard it from different people. Just, you know, different things have been said, and not just to me, just family members talking about other family members too. And, you know, they're not thinking about how that impacts them. And also it can be another big person that says it to another one because of how they feel internalized about
themselves.
They're putting that onto you as well. And there's so many different things that impact it from such an early start, especially like you said, especially if you've always been that bigger friend. And I'm not a dude, so I don't know how it is for the big and tall men. But I would be interested. So if any of my big and tall brothers out there, whether you're the light-skinned brothers, meaning the white brothers, or, you know, the brothers of color, I am interested too to learn how they learn how, you know, you cope with it, and like, when did you start to recognize, or did you recognize, you know, who like out that like, hey, you know, again, I know nothing about men's sizes. I can't even begin to tell you like sizes.
Yeah, me either.
But I am interested in that too. But I do feel, and this again, just me being a woman, I think women often get the harsher brunt of that just because women are expected to be beautiful, and beautiful often equates to being thin and white and skinny. I mean, you see plenty of bigger men out here with these skinny, many wives and girlfriends. You know, you see that. And when you see, I think, a bigger woman with a guy, you know, who has like, you know, sort of like has a six pack or really in shape, people like, how did she get him? Like he must have a fetish, or, you know, he must like big girls or something.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so, and this is just me speaking as a woman. This is what I'm saying. So I don't know how like the bigger brothers cope, but I'm just saying from a bigger woman that's particularly if we're with a guy who's considered to have a nice shape, people often like, well, how did you get him? How did this happen? Does he have a fetish? That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
It's you bring up such a good point about the whole idea of like if a good looking in shape man falls for a bigger woman, it can't be because he finds her beautiful, because she's smart, they kind of just they click, they have really good, no, it has to be he must have a fetish.
Yeah.
Like there's no other explanation, as if fat women aren't smart, aren't funny, aren't beautiful, aren't, creative. Like there's all these things that you correlate with just women in general. Like just because you have, you're a plus size or you're at more weight doesn't diminish who you are as a person. Doesn't diminish your intelligence, your creative, like, but in reality, it does. Other people diminish who you are and only see your fatness.
And see you as less than.
And it's, and it's terrible because, there's someone that I don't know, I don't think I follow them on TikTok, but they pop up on my For You page. She's a woman. She's a plus size woman who's with a really good looking guy. He works out, just has a really great body. And a lot of the comments are mean, and they're like, these women out here are saying like, oh, like you said, like it's a fetish. How did you get him? Like, oh my gosh, how does and I'm like, oh, wow, like you really just think that all men, all they see is like a piece of meat and don't.
You know what? Even if it is a fetish, so what? Like, why is that any of their business? Like we all like people. All of us to a certain extent, we nosy. Like, why are you so worried? And again, like this person on TikTok who you may never meet, you may never encounter, you're saying all this horrible stuff about, and and again, like I said, we live in such a digitized world. It's so easy for these bots, whatever people call them nowadays, to talk shit about people and just try to stir the pot. But it's like, even if somebody does have that, like, why are you concerned? That's not your life. That's their life, And if that's what they're into, then that's what they're into. But again, it does always seem to be the primary thing that people think, oh, he must have some sort of fetish and he like BBW women or whatever. And it's like, like you said, she might be a really great person. She might be creative. She might be intelligent. She might be smart, whatever the matter is. And they connected on some level.
Yeah.
You don't have to understand what it is, but they understand what it is. And it's, oh.
But it goes back to, I think, the theme that we're kind of, I think, stumbling upon is this idea of being less than, the same way that a person of color can be seen as less than, a fat person is just less than a skinny person.
Yep.
And it's interesting. Like I'll be curious to see where we kind of, as we continue talking, like where do we explore that? Like where could it come from? Like, and I mentioned earlier this idea that I mentioned to you, Martina, before we started recording, that fat phobia rooted in racism, and where that kind of comes in, and maybe we'll talk about that at a different episode. But I think there's this whole thing of it, and it's taught at such a young age. Because I remember, kids are mean. Like I'm like, kids were mean to me. There were some kids that were mean to me, and I'm like, man, like they really out here.
For me, kids are mean.
And I was like, dang, like kids, 7, 8, 9 years old, like saying these mean things, and you wonder where, and then I'm like, as an adult, I'm like, yeah, society has deemed fat people
they're
bad.
getting that from somewhere. Like the kids go by what you teach, like, well, really what they see. If they see you talking shit or being mean to someone of a certain race or a certain size, or even, unfortunately, people with disabilities, they may feel that that's like, oh, well, my parents or whomever, they said this, they mock other people. I mean, they won't say mock their child, but like, well, that, you know, they've seen it somehow.
They've seen
like,
it.
Kids haven't taught that.
We haven't even talked about television and media, you know, and how fat people are portrayed there, you know, and, you know, and obviously as kids, you know, TV plays such a huge role in how we interact with each other, with the world. And I, you know, again, like looking back, I'm like, dang, these kids really kind of just took what they learned either at home or on like television or just around things. Teachers were mean. I'm like, I hated some teachers. Like if I remember some teachers were just like, I'm like, at the time I just got hurt, but now I'm just like, you didn't really have to say it that way.
You didn't have to say it that way. Yeah.
You didn't have to point me out. Like, you know, I was like, you have to comment. Like, and it was just the same way that kids were mean, adults were mean.
Yeah, because that's where they're getting it from.
And I'm like, I was like, man, like as I was preparing for this, I was like, ooh, girl, you gotta go see your therapist because, man, you're just bringing up.
It is a lot of trauma, and you're right. Like, we haven't even touched on some things like teachers and like being in school, the entertainment and television, because it is, you know, I will say what I remember is like, you know, it's always like either the Black friend or the Latino friend is always best friends with the white girl who's like, you know, some little skinny white girl. And like, they may have that, just like they have that one token friend of color. They got that one big friend, and she may be both. She may be the friend of color and the big girl, you know? And that's what, you know, that's what, especially, you know, I was like, Lord, I can't even think of some shows off the top of my head. I think I blocked some out. But yeah, it's normally like growing up. I'm serious. I think I will, for all people out here listening and watching this video, I have a tendency to block out unpleasant things that have happened to me.
Oh, so yeah.
Called that. That's my brain has allowed me to heal, because I literally have blocked out so much shit and I can't recall sometimes. But I do remember watching those shows, and I don't know if it was specifically different networks or things like that, but I do remember seeing shows where it's like you got that one Black friend, you know, or that one Asian friend, and girl, and why the Asian friend always got to be smart? Why do you always got to make them be smart?
Every time
the Asian friend got to be smart, and like
it's the smartest one.
And it's not saying Asian
in math,
in math, or like
in math of all things.
Something if they're in college, like I'm like, people are multi-dynamic folks. They may be different, like
yes.
I just thought about that because I do remember seeing that a lot in TV shows.
Yes.
Asian friend is always smart, but I'm just like, yeah, but again, you know, just like you're not talking about these boxes that society puts people in, it's the same thing with this. Like, you know, those shows growing up, again, are so influential as a child, whether you realize it or not, stays with you throughout your life as you're getting experiences, as you're meeting more people. You know, you at times you do have flashbacks. If you remember those flashbacks, you know, you may think about things that occurred to you when you were a child or things you saw on television. But that is so true. It's like, I'm trying to think of a show now, actually, where there's a big girl or big people are like front and center. I can't think.
If there are, they're probably comedies.
Yes, because they always want the big people to be funny.
Funny.
Yes, and they can never have like a relationship. Like
no.
They like, again, they're there to support the main characters, the people who fit into the box. Yeah, that's so true. They're always the only
one that comes to mind is was it Melissa McCartney, who had a TV show?
She did.
With I don't remember the actor's name, but they were both plus.
Yeah, plus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never know what's the right way to describe us. Plus size, fat, overweight.
And you know, it seems like there's been this reclaiming of the word fat for some people. But then everybody doesn't want to be called fat. It still has a negative connotation. Big people. I'm just saying big. I don't know. You know, and that's the thing too. Comment, like, even if you're a skinny person, what do you feel comfortable saying? Or like if you have friends who are bigger.
Or what though you don't feel comfortable saying either.
Yeah, like what do you like? You like, oh, like I don't want to
I
call
would never say that.
because you remember a few years ago, what's that actress on Mad Men, Christina Hendricks. They kept a plus size. That woman is not plus size.
Plus, no.
That woman, and she legit got mad about it. She's like, I'm not plus size. And I get that. Like she has a shapely body. She's shaped like I don't want to.
A woman.
Yes, a woman. She's shaped like a woman. She has
like, you imagine like that perfect woman, you know, that Coke model, that hourglass.
Christina, I always thought she's had a beautiful body.
Yes.
And she did.
I remember that.
People were calling her plus size. Like, this woman is not plus size. What are you talking about?
Because you're erasing what plus size is when you call her plus size.
Plus size, like, what the now that's something I do remember. But, I do say.
I forgot about that one.
I love Melissa McCarthy because even though, like, she started out on Gilmore Girls. I love Gilmore Girls. I know it's probably the best show in history. But I love Gilmore Girls. I have all 7 seasons on DVDs at home in Mississippi. Okay. And now it's on Netflix, so I can watch it anytime, but still I just want to say that. So that's where I first saw Melissa McCarthy. And of course, she was the funny plus-size friend.
Yes.
The skinny Lorelai, the skinny Lorelai. But since then, like, Melissa McCarthy's really been the one to take off from that show. Like, she got an Academy Award nominations, and I love her for the fact that she can play comedy and she can play serious. Yeah. And she does both really well. And we often don't see a lot of women of her caliber and her size who have gotten that sort of recognition for being able to be so versatile. And she's actually one of my favorite actresses. And I just remember watching her on Gilmore Girls. I loved her then, I loved her now. But she did have that show. I can't remember what it was.
I remember the name of it.
But outside, I can't think of.
Like, were the 2 main characters or the main characters like in a drama?
Oh, I don't. Oh God, no. I really can't. Like, I can't think off the top of my head, especially a drama. Yeah.
Where, because it comes to mind, like the show This Is Us, and I don't know the actress's name, but her whole character is built around her weight. Like, there's this whole storyline. Well, I'm talking about, like, is there a show where the main character is plus size and the storyline isn't around her weight?
Around her weight, yeah. That's
around their weight. Like, I can't.
I don't know anything. I don't. And I watch TV people.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I know I've seen.
Yeah, I know I probably have, but like I said, I can't readily think about it, so that's probably not a good sign. I can't think of anybody. No, I mean, now look at music. Of course, we got Lizzo. Of course, is kind of being that pioneer. But even people want to put her in a box. It's like, when she first got on TikTok, and she was talking, I love following Lizzo on TikTok. I think she's amazing on there. But she is. She is on there making her vegan food, and her
trying out different foods.
Working out, and it's like and it showed a different side of someone who is a larger woman who she rightly identifies it, and she raps about it, she sings about it, she speaks about it. So she's acknowledged that that's who she is. But at the same time, I think it was also maybe last year or early this year, people were getting upset because she was losing weight, and
she's losing weight.
Y'all,
you can't win. You can't win.
You can't win. People mad at her for losing weight, and they're like, "Well, Lizzo, you supposed to be like body positivity for big girls." Who says she can? She never stopped. So what are you talking about?
Can I sidetrack a little bit? You just made me think about something, because it's something that I think happens a lot more often with women than men. I think is this whole idea of, like, when you haven't seen someone, whether it's for a long time or just even like a month or two, and they're like, have you lost some weight? And damn well I haven't lost any weight. And I'm like, why?
Compliment. They trying to be cute.
I'm like, why do we necessarily have to go that route? Like, why do we have to go down, like, because I'm like, I know it's happened to me, and And maybe I did lose the weight, but I was like, I wasn't trying to. Like it, and I'm like, but why do you feel the need to comment on that?
Just say, girl, you look good.
Just you look good. Like, oh, I haven't seen you in such a long time, but you look good.
You look good. It's great to see you.
Like, but there's this thing where it just reminded me, because I was just what we were talking. I was like, I've gotten that like a few times where I've heard other people tell other women that, and I'm just like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. Mm-mm. Like there is this huge fixation on weight and this huge fixation on losing it, and this like idea that if you don't lose it, there's something wrong with you. There's a difference between someone saying, going to the doctor, getting some like numbers that are way off, and they know that they have to, so they lose it, and they try to maintain it, and they get to a healthy weight. A healthy weight for you might be different than mine.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't mean that I'm going to be a size 4. Like, it just means I'm going to get to a healthy weight, whatever that may mean. It might just mean losing 10 pounds. It might be 20 pounds. It might mean 100 pounds. I don't know. Like, but there's just this fixation around it that you just, because we're talking about Lizzo, how she can't win if she's body positivity at whatever weight. And then she just, it's going to be automatic. If you change your eating habits and you eat healthier and you're eating, less things, like, right, of course you're naturally going to lose weight. Like, that's just the way it works. Like, that's what people know. Whether she was seeking to or not, who cares?
Oh, who cares? Who gives a shit? Like,
but why are we so fixed? But we're so fixated. Like, I can't even count the amount of times that someone has said, oh my God, have you lost some weight? Oh, you look so good. You've lost some weight. And I'm like, actually, I haven't. I just weighed myself. I weighed the same thing I weighed 2 months ago.
Ain't that change, okay? Ain't that change.
It's just your fixation with this thing.
And these people out here who are so obsessed with it, they ain't nowhere in hell they out here worried about people's health. You are not that concerned talking about, oh, well, it's so unhealthy being obese or being overweight. Yeah. That's not why you're doing it, because you could give two shits about that person. Hell, we live in America. You and I just did a podcast about vaccinations and people not even wearing a mask. So don't tell me you are worried about my health. You are not saying this for my health. You're saying this because you want to be mean and you want to undercut somebody. But don't lie and say it's about my health.
Especially in a country where we fry Twinkies and Oreos.
And Snickers. They fry Snickers. Okay?
Okay, like, ain't nobody worried about my health.
You ain't worried about my damn health. Okay? When I die, you won't cry or even know who I am. Like, so don't even make it about that. It's not that.
It's the insurance companies who care about my health because they might want to raise the premium.
They want to make money. Amen. They want to make money. Mm-hmm.
And the healthcare system.
Yeah. But people out here on these social media sites and your little friends that may say these snide comments, people, don't get me wrong, I think they're probably friends who may legit be worried about, like, if you are a bigger, I mean, we all see, of course, the other thing on TLC, what is it, like my 600-pound life, Now, yes, some of those individuals, they do have health issues, and their friends and family may actually be concerned about them. I ain't talking about those people. I'm talking about everything else, okay? Like, you not that concerned because I might be 250 pounds, okay? You just like, you just want to be snide. That's it. You want to say something that you think is funny. That's all. You ain't worry about me.
And why? And that's the thing, like, why is it that the fat person always the butt of the joke? Or like always, like there's always like there's this
like
thing.
When the joke is to everybody look over at you. What you looking? You looking at me for? Like, okay.
I'm like, okay, like it just
okay.
But it's just this thing where, again, like, because we go back to what we talked about earlier, like you're less than. So you can be made fun of. You can be all these things. And it's like, well, I shouldn't. You shouldn't feel comfortable to make fun of me in any instance.
To make fun of anybody. But again, like I said, people pick on skinny white girls. So if they picking on skinny white girls, all the rest of us are up for jabs. Like we just start, you know. I mean, they may not be picking on them about their weights, but they have something else mean to say about. People gonna always have something mean to say about that. That's the thing. You can, in this world, you can count on people being mean and ugly to folks. You can. That's so important.
Yeah.
You can definitely count on that.
It's so sad.
It is sad. It's sad. Just say something nice to people. You know, like it always, you can always count on people just being violent and ugly and mean to people. And, you know, when we see these stories of people being compassionate and showing support and empathy for other folks, you know, some of us get, you know, taken back because we're just not used to seeing that. Really much. We're just, because people again are so hateful for like no reason, just hateful. Like I've always been, you know, my mom has always told me, if you don't have anything nice to say, then keep your damn mouth closed because nobody else wants to hear it. We don't care, you know? And a lot of people need to, you know, prescribe to that. But again, you know, social media and other things have made these outlets, people just hide behind it and say ugly things and snide remarks about people. And they think nobody can't find them. But I'm here to tell you, the FBI can find anybody. Okay.
And you know what? People be finding anybody nowadays. Like, you can be found.
You can be found. Yeah, you can be found.
If you have a social media presence, someone's going to find you.
Somebody can find you. Don't think, you know, they can't find you. They'll find you, you know. But yeah, people do. They just love to hide behind that and talk shit.
So, I think this first episode, we've explored quite a few things. And I think in the next episode we'll kind of dig into more of the realm of like media, the entertainment, adults being mean, growing up, and you know, I think Martina and I will share as much as we can of just our experiences, but this has been a first good sort of session. Like,
I love you say session. It's so much like therapy. This is a therapy.
Is it really? Because, you know, like I said, like I mentioned earlier, like I was really remembering some things that I had blocked out for a very long time.
I still can't recall some stuff because I don't know. It may never come back.
It may never come back. I mean, there's some things I probably don't. Yeah. I can't even remember. But so, you know, stay tuned to sort of our little mini series of being plus size in America. I don't know if that's going to be our title, but we'll run with it for right now. And we'll be coming back with just some more in-depth conversations about our experiences, what we know, what our perspectives on this. And, you know, please, if there's anything that you want to share or themes that you want us to explore a little bit more or something that you heard, please feel free to comment below. We will be posting this both on our YouTube channel and on our podcast. So you'll have those two venues, and we'll make sure to link everything in the description box so you can access it as well. But yeah, I think I'm looking forward to our next few conversations as we dig in, because this where we're gonna go. Who knows? And I'm sure there'll be a few tangents. So stay tuned. And we'll be back, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye.